So we have been studying the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Srila Vyasadeva is offering obeisances to the absolute truth, Satyam Param. And who is that absolute truth? Vasudev, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha. So this Param Satya Krishna, it is addressed as Vasudev, but actually Vasudev is the first plenary portion of Krishna. So we should understand that, yes, this verse is addressing Vasudev, which is Krishna in his Dwarka form. Krishna is in his original form in Vrindavan. So we are here referring to Sri Krishna directly. And here Srila Prabhupada says in this verse, in the purport, that different categories of Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam, which we will explore as we go ahead. Atra Sargo Visargascha, creation, primary creation, secondary creation, maintenance, yeah, then Uti, and so on. So they will cover different aspects of understanding the nature of that absolute truth. And we also saw that Srimad Bhagavatam is the explanation of the Gayatri Mantra. And what is Gayatri Mantra? It is the Mula Mantra of all the Vedic literature. So in that sense, Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedas. And we also saw that Srimad Bhagavatam is not different from Sri Krishna. It is the Swarupa of Sri Krishna. Srila Sanatana Goswami says that the study of Srimad Bhagavatam is direct devotion. It is Sakshat Bhakti. So, that is what we are doing. We should take it seriously as we are associating with Krishna in the form of a Grantha. So, we saw here the idea that this world is unreal, but it appears real. What does it mean? And that illusion is dispelled by Krishna's Swarupa. So Krishna's Swarupa comes from Krishna's internal potency. From Krishna's internal potency comes Krishna's form, Krishna's dham, bhakti. So all transcendental elements come from Krishna's internal potency. And this cosmic creation, this material world comes from Krishna's external potency. So when we take shelter of Krishna's internal potency, then this illusion is destroyed. So what is the meaning of Amrisha? That the problem is not with the world, the problem is in our conditioning. We misread the world, because we are conditioned soul. We have a layer of ahankar, avidya. So because of that, we think that this material world, which is gunatmika, which is made up of the three gunas, what do we think? It is permanent and ultimate. That is the problem. That is the mirage that Srila Vyasdev is saying this world appears like. Although it is not permanent and ultimate, as conditioned souls, we consider it to be permanent and ultimate. So it is not real, means it is not real like the spiritual world. It has a basis, it is also Krishna's energy. But the spiritual world is permanently real, whereas this material world is temporarily real. It appears vyakta, and then on dissolution it disappears, avyakta. So it keeps going through the cycles of vyakta and avyakta. So in that sense, it is not permanent. It is goes through these cycles. So we use the example of a pot. So what is used to make a pot is earth. Now, is that earth permanent? Yes. Even if you break the pot, it will come back to earth. But is the pot permanent? No. The pot is not permanent because pot is dependent on earth. That is why we use the words dependent. And therefore, pot is not ultimate by itself. So the cause of the material world is spiritual world. And spiritual world is always existing. There is no vyakta or vyakta happening in the spiritual world. It is constantly shining. So this is how we can understand the creation as presented to us. And we see that this material world is is a manifestation of Krishna's external potency. What is external potency means? Prakriti. Prakriti means made up of the three gunas. So the three gunas come together and create an appearance of reality, which has its basis in the ultimate reality, which is the spiritual world. So this is like dependent and this is like cyclical. It is not as real as the spiritual world. This is what we should be able to see. And we will study today that Krishna's external potency means Prakriti, and along with Prakriti, there is Vidya and there is Avidya also. So by default, we have become conditioned. Why? Because we are covered by Avidya. And because we are in Avidya, we think this world is real. Whereas this world is not at all real. There is no substantial basis to it. So Prakriti, the external potency has three things: Prakriti, Vidya, and Avidya. So who is giving us this body? Prakriti. But Prakriti also has this element of Vidya. So if we start practicing as Sri Krishna teaches us in the first six chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, as we start practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga, after gaining Vidya, that I'm not this body, I'm the soul, I'm not the doer, and we should live in a spirit of Yagya lifestyle. So with that Vidya, we start to purify ourselves. So where is the Vidya? It's also a part of the external potency of the Lord. So in that sense, external potency is helping us in reaching self-realization as well. Yeah. It is giving us the opportunity to understand our identity and then to purify ourselves. So, but by default, without undergoing that purification or without gaining spiritual knowledge, we are in a state of avidya, and avidya is mostly tamas. Rajas and tamas mix, but predominantly tamas. So, we by nature, the jiva is Satchidananda. Yeah, it has the attributes of eternal eternity, full awareness, and bliss. But in the conditioned state, we experience the exact opposite of this. Asat, Achat, and Niranand. So the soul, pure soul, has that sense of awareness that I am a soul. But because we become covered by avidya, we lose that cognition. The soul loses the cognition that it is the soul because avidya covers it. And since when are we covered with avidya? That is, since time immemorial. We were pure spirit, like raindrops. They are pure. As soon as they come in contact with mud, they become muddy. That water becomes muddy. That is what is happening with us. We as souls are pure, but when we come in touch with Prakriti, you know, covered by avidya, we gain a certain ahankar. And that makes us forget that I am the soul. So there are different coverings, on our soul, coverings of avidya, then ahankara, then buddhi, chitta, mana. So these are the coverings on the jiva. And the whole process of sadhana is to purify yourself from all these coverings. So, I mean, you might have studied this in the Bhagavad Gita, the various coverings which make the jiva forget its true spiritual nature. How does it operate? That first of all, false ego, the layer of avidya. What does false ego lead to? False identification. Misidentification, that's the first, covering that we as a jiva are bound or covered by. Avidya, if we are led into a false sense of identification. Then the next layer is the chitta. What is chitta? Chitta refers to our sense of awareness, a general sense of awareness, where all our impressions of sense interactions are stored. Whenever a sense comes in touch with sense objects, like you eat an ice cream, so that experience, the impression of that experience is stored in the chitta. So chitta has all these, impressions stored. And when you encounter something, it first compares to all the impressions that are stored within your chitta. And if it is something new, like, I present to you kimchi, some of you might be saying, what? So that is an American dish. But because we have had no experience and therefore no impression, therefore we cannot identify it. So when we say there is no awareness about it, and like you are hearing me, I'm speaking, so that sound is coming, but is it registering in you? That is chitta. So chitta means awareness. Are you attentive? Are you attentively listening? Then it will recognize. If you are hearing and your attention is somewhere else, that means chitta is somewhere else. Then it will not register, just the sound will enter. So first the chitta has to flow towards the sense object for it to recognize it. Okay, so chitta gives us a general sense of awareness about what something is. Then comes the intelligence. Intelligence gives the specifics that, oh, this is a strawberry ice cream. It is able to precisely identify based on previous knowledge that, yeah, when I was a kid, I first got introduced to eating ice cream. So intelligence does that job of giving specificity to recognizing a sense object. And then the impression in the chitta says, last time you had it, you enjoyed it. So now when you are eating an ice cream, the happiness that you experience, or if it is something unpleasant, the sadness, the dukkha that you experience, the sukha and dukkha, where do they lie? The sukha and dukkha lie in the mind. That is the next layer. So you see how we interact with the world. We see an object, but first a sense of general awareness kicks in, which is chitta. It helps us create a category for that object. Then intelligence supplies the specific attributes of the object. And the mind remembers the previous experience. Was it sukha or was it dukkha? So if it was sukha, I want it. If it was dukkha, I'll avoid it. That's all the mind does. Sankalpa, vikalpa, sankalpa, vikalpa. Accept, reject. How? Based on feelings. I felt good last time, therefore I want to chase it again. So intelligence says, wait a minute. Intelligence is where the component of jnana kicks in. So jnana will say it's unhealthy, it's not good for you, don't eat it. That is how intelligence can control the mind. You say, I don't want to fall sick, I will not eat. Whenever you make that discernment, that is happening at the level of intelligence. Mind is not, mind is not able to have that responsible judgment. Mind will take any side. First, it will say it's, such a beautiful buffet laid out. Let's overeat. And when you eat, and then you feel it's now, I made a mistake. And at night you're feeling cramps. The same mind will say, how dumb are you? Why did you overeat? So the mind is chapala. It is not, it doesn't have a basis. It'll just follow, it'll chase pleasure and avoid pain. So the intelligence has to direct the mind. And that is what in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says is the way to control the mind through buddhi. Buddhi, using buddhi, you control your mind. Otherwise, the mind is reckless, yeah, restless, flickering, strong, impetuous. Evam buddhi param buddhva sansthavyam atmana atmana. By using buddhi, you control the mind. You tell the buddhi what is in the interest of my soul. That I will pursue, not the feeling I derive by it. So these are the layers. We are talking of conditioning. Because of these conditioning, we take this world to be real, although it is not real. So this, what I described, is the subtle body, the sukshma sharir. And outside the subtle body is the gross body, which we can touch and see, like our senses. So this is how the whole uh, thing acts. Is it clear? Any questions on this? So it gives you a metaphysics of being. How are you living in this world? Are you even aware of how you are? We cannot walk recklessly. We have to be aware how we are processing the impressions that we are taking in. So just like the food you eat makes the body you have, similarly the impressions you take in makes the mind you have. So we have to be responsible in what we allow our mind to take in. It could just be impressions, images, sounds, messages. We cannot be open to everything. Yes, you have a question.
Hi, Krishna Guruji. Guruji, you were
Right.
telling that external potency has three components. There is Prakriti, Vidya, and Avidya. And Vidya will purify and it gives us an opportunity to understand our identity. But if it
Correct.
is allowing us to understand our spiritual identity, shouldn't it be a part of the internal potency? Because that is what guides us towards the Lord. And how come is it a part of external potency?
Correct. So this Vidya is coming from Sattva Gun. If we study Bhagavad Gita, being in the Sattva Gun is characterized by a sense of knowledge and happiness. So Sattva has knowledge, you know. So even while you are within this world, but you raise yourself to a level of Sattva through your diet, lifestyle, dealings, it is a mode where knowledge is cultivated. You live in wisdom. You're able to avoid all mistakes. Now, what you're saying is the internal potency, that is bhakti. That is at a transcendental level. That's always there. So when somebody takes shelter of the internal potency, that they are considered a Mahatma. Mahatmanas tumam partha. Daivim prakritim ashrita. So definitely that's higher. That I recognize that I am a servant of Krishna. That's the benefit of taking shelter of the internal potency. But even external potency, it allows you to reach a stage of self-realization that I am not this body mind, I am the soul. So sattva, the component, allows for cultivation of vidya. That is the part of the external potency. That's how we describe it. And when we study Ishopanishad, there you see that it is suggested that the study of Vidya and Avidya should be side by side. That's also very interesting, tangent. So this is how this beautiful purport is presented to us, and I hope it is addressing, making things clear. So after establishing Sri Krishna as the cause of all causes, and both the Upadan Karan and the Nimitta Karan, that he is the complete cause. We cannot say that Prakriti is the cause. Prakriti might be the cause because Prakriti is supplying the ingredients. But whose whose Prakriti is it? It is Krishna's Prakriti. So you remember we had this discussion. Through the energy, Krishna is the Upadan Karan. Actually, the ingredients of this creation are coming from Prakriti. But because Prakriti is Krishna's energy and there is no difference between the energy and the energetic, Shakti, Shaktiman, Abheda, or Achinta Veda Ved. The Shakti and Shaktiman are same also, and they are different also simultaneously. So through his energy, he is also the Upadan Karan. So he's a complete cause. Then we saw Krishna being not an ordinary living entity, but the Parameshwara, the most powerful entity. Why? Because Krishna is Abhigya and Swara. And then we discussed Tene Brahma Hrita, how the spiritual knowledge is revealed. It is not, it cannot be accumulated or grabbed. And the last part, which we discussed today, that Krishna's internal energy reveals his Swarupa. Swarupa means Krishna's true nature. And when you become aware of Krishna's true nature, your illusion of considering this world as real is broken. Yeah, that is what the verse says. Dhamna svena sada nirasta kuhakam. So that illusion is nirasta, is negated when you identify the spiritual reality. If we are not aware, if you are not aware of Krishna's Swarupa and his Dham, we will take this world to be real. But when we gain that understanding through mercy of Guru and Krishna, then in comparison to the spiritual world, we will see how this world is temporary. That's the meaning of this verse. So Achinta Bheda Ved is important. Srila Prabhupada uses the example of a, energetic mine of gold, ornaments of gold. What we are trying to say is both Prakriti and Jiva are dependent on Krishna. Krishna is the source. And finally, this presents Sri Krishna as the Satyam Param. So Krishna's form and Krishna's energy come from Krishna's own Shakti, Swarupa Shakti. Remember? What is Krishna's form made up of? What is Krishna's body made up of? Krishna's body doesn't need any ingredients from Prakriti. Internal potency, Swarupa Shakti provides everything. So Krishna's body, Krishna's paraphernalia, Krishna's knowledge, Krishna's Leela, everything is a manifestation of Krishna's Swarupa Shakti or internal potency. This is what we should clearly understand. So this and our acharyas, let's read the last part of this purport by Srila Prabhupada. There is a reference to Bhagavatam in other Puranas also. Bhagavatam is referenced in other Puranas, in Matsya Purana, which is the oldest Purana. Yeah. And it is mentioned that that Purana, which has 12 cantos and 18,000 verses, so it's a direct reference to Bhagavad Purana, made in Matsya Purana. Then Padma Purana also refers to Srimad Bhagavatam, where it is advised that we regularly read Srimad Bhagavatam if we desire liberation from material bondage. So Srila Prabhupada is making a point that Bhagavatam is considered superior, and that is referenced in other Puranas as well. It is not that Srimad Bhagavatam is saying Srimad Bhagavatam is important. Other Puranas are also referencing and pointing towards the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. And there are so many Puranas, but Srimad Bhagavatam is the most commented upon Purana. The maximum commentaries written are on Bhagavad Purana. Then, and other Puranas have maybe hardly one or two commentaries, but the commentaries on Bhagavatam are many. So Srila Prabhupada writes here, within the past 500 years, many erudite scholars and acharyas like Jiva Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Vallabhacharya, and many other distinguished scholars, even after the time of Lord Chaitanya, made elaborate commentaries on the Bhagavatam. So this is important, and this has been 18,000 verses to give a commentary on. Do you think it's an easy work? It becomes a life project. So if our acharyas have made it the focus of you know, their practice, who have they written it for? They have written it for us. This is our heritage. This is our inheritance. This is the wealth that our acharyas have left for us. How can we ignore the inheritance? So it is very urgent and very important that we understand these beautiful literatures left for us. So Srila Prabhupada says, and the serious student would do well to attempt to go through them to better relish the transcendental messages. So there are many erudite scholars and acharyas who have made elaborate commentaries on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and if you are a serious student, it would do well to attempt to go through them to better relish the transcendental messages. So Srila Prabhupada is encouraging us to study the commentaries of our acharyas. It is not just information that you will say, oh, I know what this verse means. You see, you remember we saw that first realization and then comes relish. When we were discussing that the purpose of the first nine cantos is to reach the 10th canto and then understand Krishna Leela in truth. So realization precedes relish. So Srila Prabhupada is saying if we study the commentaries of these acharyas, we'll be able to relish Srimad Bhagavatam more. And then we discussed how Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that the lust present in this world has its origin in the Adi Ras of the spiritual world. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur doesn't stop at giving a philosophical commentary. He reads this same first verse as Madhurya Ras. We didn't go deeper into that, but an Acharya, because they have reached a stage of realization, yeah, they can share their darshan with us. So one understanding we saw is Janmadi Asya means all these creations. So Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur sees it from another way also. He says that Janmadi Asya means the highest rasa, which is Madhurya Ras. The Madhurya Ras between Shri Radha and Krishna is what is pointed in this verse. So Krishna is not just the source of creation, he's the source of rasa. So he's making it sweeter, he's increasing the relish. He's not just stopping at a philosophical analysis. He's seeing that how the same verse can deepen our devotion. That's how an acharya can present. And we should, as students, we should not be worried. We should be able to hold different points of view. Yes, the same word can have different meanings, and different acharyas can present different meanings, and we should be happy that we get to see different perspectives. That is the beauty of Krishna as divinity. Why should divinity be unidimensional? Divinity means it can have multifarious facets to it. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Janmadi Asya means Krishna is the source of all rasa and specifically Madhurya rasa. And then he expands that explanation. And if Krishna is the origin of all rasa, Krishna is a person. That is his presentation. And another way, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur reads, he says, Satyam Param Dhimahi. What am I meditating on? What is the Param Satya? It is Radha and Krishna. So divinity in its completeness includes both the masculine and the feminine feature of divinity. We worship the energy and the energetic together. That will make it the complete understanding of divinity. So he presents that Satyam Param Dhimahi means I meditate upon Radha and Krishna.
Prabhuji, can you just describe energy and energetic again? Is this like how Radhanath Swami had once told us about the sun and the sunshine?
Yeah, exactly. That's the best example to see that the energy cannot exist without the energetic. It doesn't have a basis. So they are same, but they're unmanifested, and there is a difference in that manifestation. So we study that there is Bheda and Abheda. There is difference, but there is also no difference. And this seems contradictory, but it is achintya, it is inconceivable. And that is explained using the example of the sun. So Srimati Radharani is the energy, and Sri Krishna is the energetic. And together, they come together, and that is the complete divinity who we worship. So that is, his presentation. And finally, he also looks at this verse as talking about bhakti. That is one of his explanations, that the subject of this verse is not just creation and this world is unreal. He's saying this verse is talking of bhakti. It is, there are three categories. It's good to understand it now. Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. Sambandha means to understand your identity, to understand Krishna's nature, and to understand the relationship between both. Who am I? Who is God? And what is the relationship between us? That is Sambandha. Okay. Next comes Abhideya. Abhideya means, okay, now I have realized the relationship I have with God. How do I reestablish that relationship which I have lost or forgotten? There is a process. That is Prayojan. Prayojan means the process. If Sambandha means the connection, the relation, Prayojan means the method or the process. And if you practice it, that is sadhana. That is what we are doing. We are practicing. What will that lead to? Sambandh, Abhideya, and third is Prayojan. Prayojan is what is the goal or the fruit. So, what is the goal of bhakti? What is the fruit of bhakti? Why are we performing bhakti? To attain love for Krishna. So, the Prayojan is prema. So, bhakti is the Abhideya, it's the process, and it's also the Prayojan. The fruit is also bhakti. Why are we practicing bhakti? So, we develop love, which is also bhakti. So, bhakti is the only path which is unique in the sense that the means itself matures into the goal. In other margas, you have to give up the method when you reach the destination. You have to give up the jnana, you have to give up the karma, you have to give up the yoga. But bhakti continues even beyond liberation. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying this verse is talking about bhakti. That sadhana bhakti is both the path and the perfection, the avideya and the prayojan. And it is that same sadhana bhakti which will mature into bhava and prema. It is not anything different that will come. Current form of our bhakti sadhana, it will blossom into its form of bhava and prema. So this is, how he presents as this was talking about bhakti. And we should meditate upon Krishna, Satyam Param Dhimai. In this explanation, he says meditate through bhakti. Because a lot of times we think meditation means something apart from bhakti. But Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is telling here, meditate through bhakti. Because bhakti is the only platform or the channel to connect you to Krishna who is transcendental. Krishna is transcendental. Bhakti is transcendental. So only through a transcendental process can we connect to a transcendental God. So bhakti will connect you to Krishna. That is the message of this verse. So this is a very profound, principle or the invocation of Srimad Bhagavatam. And it describes everything that is going to be, unraveled in the coming chapters and the cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. So first verse identifies Sri Krishna as the original personality of Godhead. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It establishes Sri Krishna as the cause of all causes. it says that this creation has a supreme intelligence. It is not abstract, it is not random. Matter cannot create matter. Yeah. Matter requires intelligence. So there is an intelligent being behind this creation. And it also tells us how to distinguish between Krishna's internal potency and the external potency. And through that knowledge of internal and external potencies of Krishna, it helps us to see how this material reality is dependent, temporary, illusory, and we should not mistake it for ultimate reality. Yeah. And we also saw the Achinta Bheda Bhed that it presents, Shakti and Shaktiman. And it also then presents Rasa. Rasa can be approached only through progressive purification. Rasa, Krishna, in a full ripened form of rasa is presented in the 10th canto, but you cannot jump to it. We have to go through a progressive purification. And Bhagavatam, sincere study of Bhagavatam will elevate us. It will take us beyond our tendencies for profit, for speculation, for material gain. It will take us beyond all those material tendencies. It will take us towards transcendence. So this is beautifully presented in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. We've discussed this, that the absolute truth is personal because it is conscious, it has agency and knowledge, love, rasa. It cannot arise from an unconscious source. It has to be a personality. So these are all, founding principles of the tradition. So Bhagavatam is laying out the principles and the step. So Bhagavatam begins with discussing the cause. What is the cause of all causes? But the first verse especially, it begins with discussing causation, but it ends in contemplation. Dhimahi. It doesn't remain at inquiry like a scientist. It leads you to become a practitioner. Have a lived experience. Don't just lick the bottle of honey from the outside. Actually taste honey. It begins with the universe, you know, how this universe is made up of all the elements. Tejo Varimradam Yatha. It begins with describing the universe, but then it points beyond this universe. Dhamna Swena. Yeah, this world is fascinating, but it is not ultimate. Turn your attention to something that is real, which is Krishna's nature and Krishna's Dham. So it points us beyond the universe. It begins with the question of origin. Hmm. What is the origin of all creation? It ends with presenting a person, and there is a person behind this creation. Yeah. It begins with Brahman, but it ends with Bhagavan. So we are going to study all these concepts in detail in the coming chapters, but the first verse is presenting what are the topics and what are the principles. Okay, so what did we understand from the first verse in conclusion? That the source of all reality is not just a principle, it's not abstract. Yeah, it is a conscious, independent, self revealing absolute truth. Who is Sri Krishna? And how can you know Sri Krishna, who has these beautiful attributes? You can know him only through revelation, Hrida. And that absolute truth, Sri Krishna, has to be approached through bhakti and ultimately relished through prema. This is the beautiful presentation of the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so let's now move to the second verse. So you remember we discussed that the first verse describes the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. What are we going to discuss? Vastu Nirdesh, and it's also part of Mangalacharan. So we are meditating. Let us meditate upon that absolute truth. Now, the second verse is going to present the Abhideya Tattva. It's going to focus on the process. So let us chant this beautiful verse. Dharma projita kaitava atra paramo nirmatsaranam satam Vedyam vastamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayon moolanam Srimat Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim va parer Ishwaraha Sadyo Hridiya Vrudyate Tra Kritibhi Shushrubhi Tatshana Dharma Projita Kaitaba. So it starts with a very bold claim that we are rejecting all false religion. Let us read the translation. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavad Puran propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need for any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within the heart. So this is a very beautiful presentation of the potency of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is not just praising Bhagavatam, it is defining, like when before you join a college, you get a prospectus. Or every political party before an election, they release their manifesto. So this second verse is the manifesto of Srimad Bhagavatam. What kind of religion is Bhagavad going to present? It is called Bhagavad Dharma. What is Bhagavad Dharma? What kind of a seeker can receive Bhagavad Dharma? What reality does Bhagavad Dharma lead us to? What kind of suffering does it remove? And what kind of encounter with God does Bhagavad Dharma make possible? All of this is described in this second verse. So, it is presenting that Bhagavatam requires a certain culture for reception. And what is the power of Bhagavatam? So, let us understand it through its parts. First comes Dharma Projhita Kaitaba Atra. Dharma means religiosity. Projhita means completely reject. Kaitava means covered by fruitive intention. So the broader idea is any false religion. Atra, herein. Herein means here in Srimad Bhagavatam, we reject all false religion, defective religion. So it is not pointing to atheism. It is not saying that, we are rejecting atheism or secularism, or we are rejecting that there is moral decline. No, it is the deeper problem is religion itself, dharma projita kaitava. We are rejecting a kind of dharma. What kind of dharma? Should dharma be rejected? Dharma should be practiced. Shri Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya. So there is a similar spirit in this verse that when dharma or religion itself is used as an instrument of ego or greed or status or escape, it becomes defective. So that religion which has become defected because of being covered by ego, greed, status, and or escape, that religion Srimad Bhagavatam rejects. Does it make sense? Yeah. So why do we have religion in the first place? Dharmo hi eko adhika vishesho. Religion is the differentiating factor between us humans and animals. Otherwise, animals are eating, sleeping, mating, defending. We are also doing the same. But we have a religion. Srila Prabhupada describes in his purpose that all civilizations, even aborigines who live in forests, they will have some form of religion. It is meant to give a framework that, okay, have your experiences in this world, but in a regulated way. So it is ordinary religion means dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So Srila Prabhupada explains at the start of this purport, irreligious life is a barbarous condition. Yeah. So if you're not practicing religion, it's an animalistic life. Therefore, in human societies, there is some form of religion. And what should be the ideal purpose of religion? Which aims at self-realization. Dharmasya hi apavargasya nartho arthaya kalpate. This is a beautiful verse which we are going to see in the next chapter. And don't use religion for material gain. Use religion only for gaining salvation. So there is some form of religion in all societies which aims at self-realization and which makes reference to a man's eternal relationship with God. What is Prabhupada talking about? Sambandha. So religion, the purpose of religion is to give us Sambandha Gyan. The first part we discussed. First step, Sambandha Gyan it is a responsibility of religion to educate humanity in Sambandha Gyan. That is why religion exists. But now the problem. But if we are, our consciousness or our mind is contaminated in lower stages of human civilization, everyone wants to dominate resources, exploit, yeah, enjoy. There is a continuous rivalry to satisfy the senses. Everyone wants, is in this race of consumerism. And there is no limit to it, there is no boundary to it. Driven by such consciousness, this is how Srila Prabhupada is beautifully introducing Projita Dharma. What is defective religion? When your lower consciousness enters religion, you have a mind of consumerism, exploitation. With that same mind, when you enter religion, driven by such consciousness, man turns to religion. Wants the same thing, but he's turning to religion. He performs pious activities, punya, or religious functions, the pujas, in order to gain something material. The desire is a material gain, but the means is a religion. And then Srila Prabhupada completely breaks it down. If the same material gains you can gain without religion, people have no interest in religion. Therefore, the churches, mosques, or temples are now practically vacant because capitalism has given us another means to gain our material uh, ends. If you have material gains in mind, so that capitalism, economy, science is also able to provide you. So why would you come to religion? So I mean, it's such a beautiful diagnosis of the current civilization. We come to religion with a material mindset, but if we can get the same material gain without religion, then nobody has any interest in religion. Men are more interested in factories, shops, cinemas than in the religious places which were erected by their forefathers. So yeah, it is sad that we never understood the purpose that religion is meant for. This practically proves that religion is performed for some economic gains. So this is Kaitab Dharma, that dharma or religion which becomes an instrument of your material acquisition, of your ego, status, or escapism, that is all considered projita dharma. So, yes, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These are the four purusharthas. All the Vedas talk of these purusharthas, that a good human life is, these are worthy goals of human life. Dharma, arth means economic development, kama means sensual enjoyment, and moksha means salvation. So, what do the scriptures say? Yes, you can have artha and kama, but it should be tied to dharma, and it should be with the ultimate interest of moksha. Don't forget, the ultimate goal is moksha. You're not going to live here forever. So, with that foresight, and with responsible following of dharma, you can have artha and kama. So, your wealth creation should be dharmic. Your sense enjoyment should also be dharmic. That is the way Vedas say you should live like. But Srimad Bhagavatam says that is good. But here we are going even beyond that. We are not interested in artha, kama. We are not interested in anything material. We are not dismissing them as useless, because there is a point in practicing that dharma, the conventional dharma, because it leads to harmony in society. We don't become animalistic. But Bhagavatam's subject matter is not that dharma, artha, kama, moksha. How to have a prosperous religious life, comfortable religious life. No, Bhagavatam is saying that's not our topic. Bhagavatam is beyond this entire economy of desire. Bhagavatam is saying if we smell desire, we reject that dharma. Desire means you want a material gain. There is some desire you want to fulfill through religion. So, that entire economy of desire, Bhagavatam says we are not going to address it. It is rejecting religion, which is performed for material gain, social respectability, even swarga, heavenly enjoyment, even to the extent of moksha. Why moksha? Because moksha is seen as a personal interest. I want to escape the miseries of this material life. Please relieve me. Liberation is nothing but a relief mechanism. Like a child, when you were a child, and if you were an introvert child, you would not like to meet your relatives when they visit your home. What would you do? You would, go and lock yourself in your room or in your bathroom. That is somewhat what liberation really is like. I don't want to, this is all a source of misery. This is all temporary. There is no value, there is only pain. I want relief. So that seeking of relief also becomes at one level selfish. So there is a desire. So even liberation is rejected. Okay. So any path which deviates deviates the soul from its real goal is Kaitap Dharma. Yeah. Sakam Karma and all other paths also. Even those paths which lead to liberation like Jnana and Yoga, they are also rejected. Yeah. Till the time it is disconnected with pure bhakti, Bhagavatam is saying we reject it completely. Not just reject, but fully reject. Projhita. So, what is Bhagavatam rejecting? Not just gross materialism, even if it is under the garb of religion. It is not just rejecting gross materialism, it is also rejecting subtle spiritual self interest. Does it make sense? That is how specific and pure Bhagavatam is. So, a lot of people in today's times, they come to spirituality, but they, use modern spirituality as an instrument. They want psychological comfort, but they don't want to surrender. Yeah. They want wellness, but they don't want transformation. their habits, their values. Don't touch them. That's our private life. But make me feel good. That is what I come to religion for. Bhagavatam is saying, no, that is not true religion. So, whenever religion is used as an instrument for the ego, that is rejected. So, people use religion, they come to religion for prosperity. Yeah. In Christianity, in fact, there is a specific church which calls it the prosperity gospel. You donate to the church and God will give you material prosperity. So we come to religion for prosperity, but not purification. We come for self-improvement or wellness, but not transcendence. So all of this is put under the category of Kaitaba Dharma. Your ego is intact. Yeah. And you're just changing the form. That is Kaitaba Dharma. Why? What do I mean? That if you're not worked on your identity or ego, you're just using meditation to be maybe more productive. You're using rituals of Vedas to gain success. You're using theological knowledge to win debates. Yeah. You just want to feel a part of a community, or you want to feel you are practicing renunciation because you want to feel superior. All of this is Kaitaba Dharma, defective religion. It is cheating. Bhagavatam clearly calls it as cheating because soul is not meant to become successful or respected. Soul is meant to love. So all religion which is not aligned to the true nature of the soul, which is us in our purity wanting to establish a loving relationship with Krishna, it rejects that. Dharma projita kaitava. So in the Vedas, all these goals are mentioned, but Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental to all these sense gratificatory activities. It is a purely transcendental literature which can be understood only by pure devotees. Nirmatsaranam satam, those who are pure in heart. Yeah, that is the next. So the subject matter is transcendental. Any material gain or subtle spiritual desire, that is also spiritual self-interest is also rejected. That is the content of Bhagavatam. Now, who is the receiver or the ideal receiver of Srimad Bhagavatam? Paramo Nirmatsarana. Nirmatsarana means non-envious. Satam means devotees. So those who are devotional and non-envious in nature, they are suitable candidates for receiving this message of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada is, explaining in detail that in the material world there is constant rivalry between animal and animal, man and man, community and community, nation and nation. We are living in a time where there are wars going on, multiple wars happening at the same time today. So there is competitive sense gratification. But devotee or satam, they do not compete with materialism. So this text, this message is meant for the spiritualist. Who are the spiritualists? The devotees of the Lord who rise above such competition because there's a constant rivalry for sense enjoyment. That's the basis of material existence. Yeah, if you come to think of it, everyone is having the impulse to dominate material nature, and that is producing rivalry, exploitation, dissatisfaction. So Srila Prabhupada says the satam, the devotees rise above that competition because they are not interested in those kind of competitive sense gratificatory activities. Okay. They do not compete with the materialist because they are on a different path. Their purpose is different, their perspective is different. So sometimes, when we are new to the path, it might seem that as a shock that do I have to compromise my material ambition? No, we have to purify our purpose and identity. Ambition can stay same, but it has to be directed towards a spiritual goal. What is the in having a great ambition, but it is misdirected. So, yes, when we enter the path of spirituality, our purpose and our perception, how we see the world, that has to be spiritualized. So, a spiritualist is interested in an eternal life, a blissful life, Satchidanand. Such transcendentalists are non-envious and pure in heart, nirmatsaranam satam. Because in this material world, everyone is envious of everyone else. That's quite a bold statement to make, but it has, that strong sense of reality. Therefore, there is competition. But devotees are free from material envy, and therefore, so that Prabhupada presents three levels at which devotees are superior to materialists. First is they are free from material envy. Second is not just they are themselves non-envious, they are also well-wishers to others. They just don't, they are not just self-satisfied, no, I am beyond all this. They also have empathy, they also have compassion for everyone. And they also give that compassion a form through their efforts in this world. They strive to establish a competition-less society with God in the center. So that is our vision. It is like a spiritual communism. Everyone, this is coming from Ishopanishad, everything belongs to God. And because we are all children of God, it is our property. Like the parents' property is the children's property. So all of us are entitled to God's property. But how much? Ishavasyam idam sarvam. As much which meets our needs, not our greed. So that is the competition-less society, the idea of Ishavasya, which Srila Prabhupada is presenting here. Because even in the material socialist society, somebody has to become the dictator in that socialist society, right? So there is competition for that. From the point of view of the Vedas, sense gratification is the basis of material life. So these are, very hard truths. There are three paths mentioned in the Vedas: karma, karma, then it's also mentioned in the next paragraph, jnana kand and upasana kand. So, impersonalist literature, it is higher than the impersonalist literature and higher than the jnana kand division of the Vedas. So yes, Vedas have this jnana kand section, but it stops short of defining God as we have defined in the first verse of this beautiful Srimad Bhagavatam. So, Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental. It gives information about the absolute truth in its personal feature, Bhagavan feature, which is higher than impersonalist literature, higher than Jnana Kant, even higher than Karma Kant. Fruitive activities to gain promotion to Swarga. Yeah. Upasana is worshipping various devatas for promotion to their planets, that Upasana Kant. And Jnana Kant is realizing the absolute truth and his impersonal feature by becoming one with him. So in the Jnana Kand, you practice cultivating knowledge, but that is impersonal knowledge. So therefore, Bhagavatam is presenting a message which is higher than the Karma Kand, Jnana Kand, and the Upasana Kand, the paths given in the Vedas. So it is superior to the path of the Vedas. Okay? Because it aims at the supreme truth, which is the substance or root of all categories. So because it is aiming at Sri Krishna, now this is defining the next part. We'll come to that in a minute. First, let's conclude our understanding on Nirmatsarana. So are you clear about that? Where one who doesn't have any selfish intention, they can understand what is the permanent object or the root of all creation. So does it mean Bhagavatam is only for a few people? No, it is addressed to the pure, but it also purifies the impure who sincerely hear it. Yeah, that is also presented here. As you hear Srimad Bhagavatam, it purifies you. So it is addressed to the pure, Nirmatsaranam Satam. Doesn't mean it is creating a club of pure people only. It's saying even if you start giving it oral reception, it will purify you and you will come to that stage. So this is the beautiful message of Nirmatsaranam Satam. We don't want to be those who are selfish cannot walk on this path of transcendence. Because why? For them, they are the center. You know, envy is the refusal to accept that God is the center and we are the servant. When you think you are the owner, the master, the enjoyer, then you look at others as threats. So it is a mindset of placing oneself at center. That is a disqualification for understanding Bhagavad. When we place Krishna at center, then there is harmony and then there is a non-envious attitude. So how do we practice non-envy? We accept Krishna as the supreme enjoyer. We see that everyone is related to him. How can I envy my own sibling? Because all of us are children of God. How can I envy another child of God? Yeah. My purpose as a soul is to serve, not to exploit. So there is no question of envy and competition. Yeah. And if someone else is flourishing, that is not taking away my spiritual assets. Because the mindset of material competition is desires are unlimited, but resources are limited. But when you come to transcendental subject matters, resources are not unlimited. Resources are not limited. Krishna's love can be had by everyone. Advancement can be made by everyone. It's not that only someone will be first rank and then others have to be less than that. All of us can achieve full potential of spiritual perfection. Your advancement is not taking away my opportunity. Please change your mindset when we are in spiritual circles, when we are in spiritual life. There is no competition. In fact, devotees are happy if others devotees are pleasing Krishna. So everyone encourages, wow, you have been able to please Krishna so well. I'll also try to do it. So it is such a contrast, transcendental culture and our current social culture. They are just opposite. Our whole culture today, especially social media, it is just intensifying envy through comparison. And everyone is projecting, they're curating their presence. It's not their factual presence and comparison, and it's just intensifying envy. And that is what the whole economic development of the country is directed towards. You reward competition, you make people compete, and you reward the best. Academics, since we were children, we have been trained to do that. Professional spaces, everything. You gain, I lose. So it's a zero-sum game. So even sometimes that mindset, if we carry that mindset from work, from social life, and when we come to association of devotees, we bring that same mindset. So what happens even in a spiritual circle, which is meant where we are all meant to realize that we are servants, people chase subtle prestige. Hmm. Who knows more, who has more gyan, who is more renounced, who is more recognized in the community, who is more popular, who is closer to authority. You see what is happening? It is the same envious mentality coming in. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada says Bhagavatam is proposing a competition-less society with God in the center. That is what we should practice in our societies. So Srila Prabhupada said, my temples are Vaikuntha. So they are a blueprint of the spiritual world. It has to be, the same mode has to be practiced here. We should just focus on how am I progressing in spiritual life? Is my heart transforming towards loving and serving Krishna? Or is it still chasing my ego, greed, and envy? This is what our focus should be, not again creating competition within devotees. Okay, is this clear? Any questions so far? Next is um, this. What is the root of all categories? Vedyam vastavam atra vastu. So each phrase is so deep and profound. Let us let us together go back to the synonyms and see. So Vedyam means that which is understandable. Vastavam means which is factual. Atra means herein. Again, second time the word atra is used. Here in Srimad Bhagavatam, you will understand the vastav vastu. Vastu means the substance. That substance which is tangible. That substance which is factual. So Bhagavatam helps us understand the substantial truth. Otherwise, the world is full of relative truths, as we discussed. So what does really matter? Matter does not matter. Spirit does. So Vedyam Vastam Atra Vastu means what is to be known? Vedyam. Is that to be known? How I can prolong my life in this world? That is a ridiculous concept. How much ever we do that, it's still gonna be limited. So what is the real understandable object is Vastava Vastu. Vastava Vastu, as mentioned in the verse 1, is Krishna's Dham, Krishna's nature. Dhamna Svenam. That is the Vastava Vastu. This world full of Tejovari Mrigam is not, it is a Vastav Vastu. Vastav, when we say, what is actually important, वास्तव में क्या महत्वपूर्ण है वास्तव वस्तु is what is real, what is permanent, therefore important. So Bhagavatam is going to present the root substance of all categories. That's what Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here. From Srimad Bhagavatam, one can come to know of the substance as well as the categories. So categories are 10, the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Krishna is the root or the substance of all those categories. We will explore all those 10 categories in detail as we move through the chapters ahead. So a deeper explanation is waiting for us. But the point here is, what is substantial? What is worth understanding? That is the supreme truth, which is Sri Krishna. So Bhagavatam is presenting Bhagavan, God in its fullest form, fullest personal form, Sri Krishna. So let us read further. Nothing is apart from the substance, and at the same time, the energies are different from the substance. You see what Prabhupada is referring to? Achintya Bheda Bhed, Shakti and Shaktiman. So, Srimad Bhagavatam explicitly promulgates the simultaneous one and different philosophy of Vedanta Sutra, which begins with the Janmadi Asya Yata. Let's read a little bit and then try to understand. So, the knowledge that the energy of the Lord is simultaneously one with and different from the Lord is an answer to the mental speculator's attempt to establish the energy as the absolute. Or did you understand? Like a lot of words. Why are we presenting Achintya Bheda Bhed? Because those who don't refer Shastra, they just, concoct from their fertile brain. They come up with so many speculative theories. So, Achintya Bheda Bhed means Krishna's energy and Krishna, they are same and also different. What does it mean? Achintya Bheda Bhed. At Shakti Shaktiman Bheda Bhed. What does it actually mean? That first, nothing is apart from the supreme substance. Yeah. So in that sense, there is abheda, there is no difference. But the energies are emanating from him. Therefore, there is also some difference. Yeah. You see the energy and the energetic. So nothing is apart from Krishna because all energies emanate from Krishna. This is the meaning of Achinta Bheda Bhed. All Shaktis are Krishna's. All Shaktis are coming from Krishna. So there is nothing separate from Krishna. Yeah. Yet, Krishna's energies are not Krishna. And Krishna's energies are different from him. So what is happening here? We are avoiding the two extremes of extreme dualism and absolute monism. Yeah. Not complicated, very simple. Just understand. If we don't present this Achintya Bheda Bhed Tattva of the Shakti and Shaktiman, कि सब शक्तियां कृष्णा से ही आ रही हैं, and Krishna and his Shaktis are not different in one sense, so they are the same. But they are also emanating from him. They are creating this world. So in that sense, there is a difference. When we use this understanding, we are avoiding one extreme of dualism. Dualism means Krishna and Krishna Shakti are so disconnected. Means this material world we understood is a manifestation of Krishna's external potency. So this world is Krishna's external energy. Can we say that? So dualism say there is no connection between Krishna and his creation. So Shakti Shaktiman Abheda says, no, they are the same. What are you saying? They are connected. And on the other extreme is absolute monism. That they are so similar that the world doesn't have a basis. Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. That only Brahman is truth. This Jagat is Mithya. We say, no, 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 no. They are not Mithya. They have their own identity. Prakriti is real. Jiva are real. They are not going to lose their distinctiveness. Absolute monism means Ishvara, Prakriti, Jiva are all one. And extreme dualism means there is no connection between Ishvara and Prakriti. So what Achintya Bheda Bhed does, that the world, Ishvara and Prakriti are connected because it is an energy of Ishvara only. But they are not the same because they are emanating from Krishna. They are real, but they are not one. Does it make sense? Questions? So these are, we understood very simply, but these are very deep philosophical points. One mistake in this understanding, and we will commit a philosophical error. So you understood the risk between absolute monism, Advaita Vedanta. It takes Prakriti, Jiva, and Ishvara all to become one. We say no, no, no. And the other extreme of crude dualism, you separate Prakriti and God so much that you say God has created Prakriti but is not connected with Prakriti. In Western philosophy, it is called deism, Deism. That yeah, God created it but is not connected with it. It's apne aap chal raha hai. No, Krishna is present in his creation. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. So Krishna presents this Achintya Bheda Bhed in Bhagavad Gita itself. Matsthani sarva bhutani, nacha matsthani bhutani. I am present in everything, but everything is not present in me. So somebody who doesn't know this philosophy of Achintya Bheda Bhed and they take those words literally, they will get confused. What is Krishna saying in the Bhagavad Gita? He's actually saying that I am present in everything because my presence that is the shelter that that makes those things exist. But they cannot exist without me. They are not in me. So this we have to understand as Achintya Bheda Bhed. So the Prakriti and Ishvara are also not so far that there is no relation between them. Same with Jiva and Ishvara. If you take Jiva and Ishvara so far apart, then how can you present a loving relationship between them? So that is the risk of dualism. Absolute dualism and absolute monism both are rejected. How are we addressing these extremes? By Achintya Bhed Abhed Tattva, given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That energy and energetic are the same. Yeah, that this creation is not unreal. It is an energy of Krishna, therefore it is real. In that sense, they are the same. But doesn't mean Prakriti and Jiva do not have their own distinctiveness. Yeah, there is also Veda. Is it okay? Are you able to follow? It's not difficult if you actually go step by step. We are not discussing something very complex. Step 1, step 2, step 3, that's all. Any questions? Okay. I hope it's clear. We move with that. So coming back to Vastava Vastu.
Hare
Uh,
Krishna, Dandvat Pranam Prabhuji. I have one question.
yes, please.
Yeah, but this Achintya Bheda Bhed Tattva, how are we going to use this in the further studies of this Bhagavatam? Can you give one simple example for this? Means
Sure.
I
You
understood
know,
this tattva. What you have said is understood, but how can we use it in further studying of Bhagavatam?
correct. Yeah, that's a very good question. So now we are seeing especially the subject matter of creator and creation. Later on, we will also see the difference between Ishvara and Jiva. So Achinta Bheda Bhed means we, the Jiva, are same in nature as Krishna. You have the same nature as Krishna. Can you think of it? Can you visualize it for a second? Krishna is Satchidanand. You are also Satchidanand. So in that way, you have the same nature as Krishna. That is Abheda. But in quantity, Krishna is infinite. And we, the Jiva, are infinitesimal. We are tiny and Krishna is magnanimous. So in quality, we are same with God, but in quantity, we are different. That is how we'll also see Achinta Bheda Bhed being used, either in terms of Jiva Ishwar or in terms of Prakriti Ishwar. So here the focus is more on Prakriti Ishwar. Later on, when we study, we'll also see the Jiva and Ishwar. Ishwar, I mean, the Jiva cannot become Ishwar. That is Mayavad. This is how we will be looking at the Achinta Bheda Bhed.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Yeah, my problem is solved. Yes, I got the answer.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So coming back to the discussion of Vastav Vastu, are you chasing something which is substantial or are you chasing a mirage? It is not even real. Where are you investing your life's time and energy, which is limited? Yeah. So Vastam Vastu means that which is substantial, which is permanent, which is real, which is ultimate. And reading this along with the first verse, what do we understand? This material world is not absolutely unreal, means it is not an imagination like the Advaitins say. Brahma Satya hai, Brahman, but Jagat Mithya hai. No, we just understood how it is not true. So we don't take the material world as absolutely unreal, like flower in the sky. There is nothing like a flower in the sky. So material world is not like that. It is not unreal like a flower in the sky. But at the same time, it is also not ultimately substantial, as substantial as Vaikuntha. Why? Because it is temporary.
So can we
This
say
is
the
what,
material world
yeah,
is real but temporary, right?
correct.
It's
Correct.
not eternal like the spiritual world, but it is real and temporary.
It is real and temporary, and it is not as permanent as the spiritual world. It is not ultimate, it is not independent. Okay. So Vaikuntha and the Lord's eternal reality, they are truly Vastava, which means they are real in the sense that they endure. So what is the point? Spiritual goals, spiritual purpose, they are substantial. Material goals and material purposes are not substantial. They are not Vastava Vastu. So Srimad Bhagavatam, the subject matter is Vastav Vastu. Don't come to it for any material gain. Yeah. So let us conclude this discussion that the
Hare
material
Krishna,
world
Prabhu.
is. Yes, Mataji?
Just a doubt. And so this concept is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita.
Yes. That
This
Krishna is in English, it is called immanent. 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 That Krishna is in his creation. So how can the creation be false? But Krishna is not his creation. Creation is not Krishna. Krishna is way beyond the creation. That is transcendent. He is in his own abode. So Krishna is simultaneously immanent and transcendent.
okay, that way we can say it is not an illusion.
Exactly.
Okay,
Because it is
thank
Krishna's energy. Krishna is present in his creation. What do you mean illusion?
you.
So
Yeah. So
that
how do the other people say that it is Jagat Mithya? How do they come to that
but
conclusion?
that is their interpretation. That is not the words of the Upanishads or Vedanta Sutra. That is their interpretation of the Advaitins. It is a bhashya, a commentary written on Vedanta Sutra where they say Brahma is Satya, Jagat is Mithya. That is their interpretation.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Pinky. Also, is it also right to say, like in the start of the class, we were talking about the mana, buddhi, ahankar, chitta. It seems like the material world is also illusion in the sense that our experience of it is actually not exactly touching the soul. It seems to be that it is very much moderated and presented by the coverings around the soul. And
Correct.
it's not like it is also illusory in the sense if we feel we are experiencing something or liking something, actually we are not. It is the coverings which are sort of interacting and we are not. Is that correct? Understanding?
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So, when we say that it is not absolute, it's not vastam vastu, we are trying to say because of avidya, we are considering it to be factual, ultimate, permanent, whereas it is none of these. As soon as we gain vidya, we are awakened, we are enlightened through self-realization and God realization. We realize, oh, this is just a mirage. Tejo vari mridam. It is a mirage, but it appears real because we are conditioned by ahankar and avidya. When we overcome that conditioning, which is when we undergo purification, then you will be able to see it for what it actually is. You'll be able to say, oh, it's a mirage. So, yes, we are seeing it as we are according it absolute reality, which is not the case because we are conditioned. Therefore, we are seeing it wrongly. Okay. So, yeah, there's a delicate balance. You don't say it's unreal because that will become monism. You also don't say it is fully real because that will become materialism. So, it's neither of that. It has its basis in the spiritual truth. Therefore, to that extent, it is real, but it also undergoes change. It is temporary but real and not as permanent as the spiritual world. So basically, it is trying to tell us that shift your focus from things of this world to Krishna's world. That's the message. Now you're so engrossed in objects and people of this world, and you're taking it to be Vastav Vastu, but it is not. Turn your attention from here to Goloka. That is the message. Okay, so we are discussing Vastav Vastu. So Bhagavatam is teaching us that not only God exists, but everything that exists is in relation to Him. Nothing can exist without a relationship to Him. That is the beauty. So, last part of this purport, so Srila Prabhupada also talks about it. when we develop a transcendental consciousness based on this Achintya Bheda Bhed Tattva, that leads to freedom from the threefold miseries. Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the surrender of the devotee unto the absolute person. The devotee is fully aware that he is one with the absolute and at the same time in the eternal position of servant to the absolute. So in nature we are like God, but in the relationship we are servant of God. Yeah, but if we in our out of our avidya, we think we are Ishvara, because if you take God out of the picture, then it's just Jiva and Prakriti. And Jiva is superior to Prakriti because the Jiva is conscious and the Prakriti is unconscious. So if Ishvara is taken out of the picture, Ishwar thinks I am the if Ishwar is taken out of the picture, the Jiva thinks I am only the Ishwar because I can manipulate Prakriti. But that is a Bhoga Vritti. That is a enjoyment mentality. And what does Bhoga Vritti lead to? Karma Bandhan. In the material conception, one falsely thinks himself the lord of all his surveys. And therefore he is always troubled by the threefold miseries. You enter Karma Bandhan, you have to experience the three with the klesha. But as soon as you come to know of your real position as a transcendental servant of the Lord, you become free from all these miseries. So till the time you try to be the Ishvara of this Prakriti, you will have to suffer. When you change that attitude, oh, I should not be, I as a Jiva should not be exploiting Prakriti. This Prakriti is actually an energy of the Ishwar. I should be engaging this Prakriti in seva of the Ishvara. So the mentality goes from Bhoga to Yoga or Bhoga to Seva. That is the journey of spiritual life. We start with a Bhoga mentality because we are wanting to enjoy matter, but then we realize who Krishna is, what are his energies. And then we see, oh my God, this belonged to Krishna. I was trespassing on Krishna's property. I was trying to enjoy something that belonged to the Creator. I should offer it back to the Creator. That is the best use of this matter. That is the Seva Bhav, which we have to ultimately cultivate. Service to the Lord is rendered in pure consciousness of one's spiritual identity. So only when you realize that you are a soul will you have a motivation to serve. Otherwise, who wants to become a servant? Everyone wants to become a master. But when you factually realize, I am Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loka, I am a part of Krishna. I am a pure soul, a part and parcel of Krishna. And my dharma is to serve Krishna. Then bhakti becomes natural. And by that, bhakti one is freed from all material encumbrances. And Srila Prabhupada closes by saying that Srimad Bhagavatam is a personal commentary of Srila Vyasadeva on Vedanta Sutra. And it was a commentary in his maturation after he got, after he got advice from his Guru Narad Muni. In his mature realization, he compiled Srimad Bhagavatam, composed Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is considered a natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. And who is Vyasadeva? Vyasadeva is not any ordinary person. He's Mahamuni. He is an authorized incarnation of Narayan. Lord is taking a literary incarnation, an incarnation to compose scripture. That is the meaning of literary incarnation. So therefore, you cannot question his authority. He's the author of all other Vedic literatures, yet he recommends the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. Kim va parai? Why do you need other scriptures? This is providing the essence of all other scriptures.
So
In
Vyasdev
the-
literally literary incarnation of Krishna.
yes.
Okay.
So we'll just take a few more minutes. So also the word Shivadam is mentioned.
So, Prabhu, this Shariraka Bhasa by Shankaracharya is equivalent to Srimad Bhagavatam, or is it something else?
It's a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So Shankaracharya's commentary on Vedanta Sutra is Shariraka Bhasya. Srila Vyasdev's commentary on Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam.
So that's supposed to be the equivalent.
Their
But different
commentary,
people have commented.
yeah,
Different
Srila
people have commented
Srimad,
on the Vedanta Sutra.
correct. Srimad Shankaracharya has presented an Advaitic interpretation. Vyasdev, as we read here, is presenting an Achintya Bheda Bhed interpretation. So both are commentaries, but they are having a different direction. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
So Shivadam means auspicious. It is what is auspiciousness? It is not just that your suffering will end, your pain will end. Auspicious means your life will become transcendental. You will be able to participate in Krishna Leela. You will be able to develop a loving relationship with a personal God. That is Shivadam. Highest good. What is the best? What is the most auspicious thing in this world? Is to awaken your loving relationship with Krishna. So this is, presented here as Vastava Vastu and Shivadam. What Bhagavad Dharma, not even liberation. So liberation is not rejected or denied, but liberation is subordinated to prema. And liberation is also considered a kaitap dharma. But prema, the subject matter of Bhagavatam, that is the Vastav Vastu, and it is actually Shivadam. It is actually auspicious because it is at the level of the soul. What does it mean to be free at the level of the soul? It means to be lovingly bound to Krishna. That is real auspiciousness and real freedom. So Srimad Bhagavatam is saying auspiciousness, well-being, it doesn't mean just physiological or psychological well-being. Auspiciousness doesn't mean that are you healthy, are you mentally stable. Auspiciousness means do you have a relational fulfillment with God? That is real auspiciousness. Well-being means what? Well-being is not just of the body and mind. Well-being is of the soul. Are you fulfilled in the soul's relationship with God? That is Bhagavatam's way of defining well-being. I mean, we might do other things and they're important, but I'm saying they are not complete. One can be successful, emotionally stable, yet one can be spiritually unfulfilled. So Shivadam means deep level fulfillment. When your soul becomes reconnected to its eternal object of love, which is Krishna. Then what happens? Tapa Traya Unmulanam. Like Srila Prabhupada defines the three miseries, Adhyatmika, Adibhautika, and Adidaivika. What is binding us to these miseries? The idea of exploiting and enjoying. Ishwari Bhav, Ichha. Desire is binding us to this world of klesha. As soon as you give up that bhoga vritti and you turn it into seva bhav, automatically the miseries are uprooted. Uprooted, not just managing pain, but actually uprooting the miseries. What does it mean? Does it mean that the devotee will not experience physical pain or social challenges? No, the existential root of suffering, like Srila Prabhupada mentions here. What is the root cause of all suffering? It is false identification, false ownership, false lordship. That disease is cured. That will make you free from suffering. Because avidya, ahankar, asmita, they are leading us into all these kleshas. So if we cure the disease of avidya, asmita, and ahankara, automatically the kleshas will not touch us. That is what we mean by freedom from suffering. Yeah. And finally, this Srimad Bhagavatam is called Bhagavat is that which is in relation to Bhagavan is Bhagavad. So this text, as we have seen, is not different from Krishna. So it is Bhagavad. But here it is addressed, the adjective is used Srimad. Srila Prabhupada calls it beautiful, beautiful, auspicious Bhagavad Puran. Yeah. So this is not just a regular academic book. This is a scripture. This is beautiful. This is auspicious. And we are supposed to, it is going to reveal to us. The more you approach it with a sincere heart, it will reveal to you, it will purify you, it will attract you to Krishna. So that is the beauty of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is not just demanding intellectual mastery that, oh, I know these shlokas of Bhagavatam or I know Achintya Bheda Bhed. It is not talking about that. It is saying it is the purpose of this knowledge is to develop a connection with Krishna. Yeah, don't take Bhagavatam as information to be consumed. Yeah, it is not data or information. It is Shravanam. That Shravanam, you are coming in touch with Krishna when you are studying Srimad Bhagavatam. It is Sakshat Bhakti. Yeah, it is. And it leads to transformation. So when we study Srimad Bhagavatam, we should do it with an open mind that I am open to be transformed, reformed by divine sound vibration. That is the meaning of that. It is Srimad. This is not an ordinary literature. Okay. And who has compiled it? Mahamuni Krite, Vyasdev. So Bhagavatam is presented by Srila Vyasdev, and as we saw, he is recommending that one does not need to worship the devatas. Just by study of Bhagavatam, the Supreme Lord will be fixed in your heart. Kim Vapare, what is the need for any other scripture? So first means there is a tradition, there is an authority in Bhagavatam because Mahamuni Krite. It is coming from the realization of Srila Vyasadeva. Because in today's world, there is no shortage of information, but wisdom is scarce. But Srila Vyasadeva has chosen to share his deepest realization with us. So it is his compassion. So we should receive it through a pure heart. That is the bhav of a parampara. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended Srimad Bhagavatam as the spotless Puran, Amala Puran, because it distinguishes it from other Puranas. So here the goal is only Krishna. We only will discuss matters of Krishna Bhakti, Prem, and Seva. No other material desire or subtle spiritual self-interest will be entertained. And the proper method for receiving is to hear it submissively. A challenging attitude cannot help one realize transcendental message. So the subject matters which are beyond our physical sense perception, yeah, that you cannot have a challenging attitude in that arena. You have to be humble. Why? Because somebody who's realized it, only when they choose to share their realization with you, that is the way you will gain knowledge. What is the verse within Bhagavad Gita which says this? How should you approach a guru? Remember? Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Pranipat means humbly. You can inquire. We are not anti-reason. We are not saying you cannot think, you cannot use logic, you cannot question. But before you do pariprashna, inquiry, you should do pranipat. Tadvidhi pranipatena. Are you doing it humbly or with a challenging attitude? Is your goal to gain wisdom or is it goal to challenge and establish your superiority? I know better. I know more. That is not the right disposition. So, tadvidhi pranipatina pariprashnena, and you should also render seva. When the realized souls upadekshanti te jnanam, then the they will upadesh, they will give you upadesh and jnana when they are satisfied. And why do they have the right to share jnana? Because jnaninas tattvadarshina. Because they are tattvadarshi, they have seen the truth. We have not seen the truth today. Depending on our level of spiritual development, the level of advancement of our consciousness, we are still getting there. But those who have perfected it, they actually see the truth face to face. So in that level, they don't require Shraddha. For them, it is Pratyaksha. So we are taking the Pratyaksha of Vyasdev. Today, we are taking it with a little Shraddha. But if we sincerely follow it, tomorrow it will become our Pratyaksha also. We will also be able to see it, but there is a method to do it. You cannot do it in a challenging spirit. Shushushu. You should be sincere, anxious. You are really here for the subject matter. You are not here for defeating, arguing, challenging, proving superiority. The desire to sincerely hear is the first qualification. So basically, when you approach a guru, you should approach with a clean slate. Not that I know so much. You know the story of a music teacher when a student comes and says, please teach me this musical instrument. I have no idea. I have zero knowledge of music. So the teacher says, okay, I'll charge you 100 rupees. And then another student comes who says, please teach me. I know a little bit, but yeah, I want to learn more. So to that student, the teacher says, okay, I'll teach you. I'll charge you 500 rupees. So the student like, wait a minute, you charged 100 rupees to that person who doesn't know anything. I already know a lot. So the teacher says, that's the problem. You are a full slate. My first effort will be to break away your misconception, misunderstandings. Whereas this person is a clean slate. They are approaching with a sincere intention. And here Prabhupada makes a very nice statement, very bold again. Less fortunate persons are not at all interested in hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. The process is simple, but the application is difficult. All of us will understand the process very soon, in a few months. But how much will we be able to apply it? Because dealing with your mana, ahankara, ichha, these are like the biggest challenges anyone can take in this world. So, again, the process is simple, but application is difficult. Okay. So, Srila Prabhupada is saying usually people will get time to, listen to all the social, political subject matters, but when we invite them to discuss Bhagavatam, they'll be very reluctant. No time, no time, no time disease. And one is we should be eager to listen, but the second caution is eager to listen from whom? Your receptivity is good, the soil is fertile, but even the seed should be potent. We should not hear from professional reciters who are making a money out of it, who are doing it for fame, and themselves not practicing it. Sometimes professional readers of the Bhagavatam plunge directly into the Ras Leela topics of Sri Krishna, and they give sensual interpretations. One, they have not understood it in the right way from the right guru, therefore they are not giving the right understanding. They're just diverting people from the true path, and it's such a big disservice. Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to be heard from the beginning, and those who are fit to assimilate this work are mentioned in the sloka. Kriti bhi, you require certain, blessings to be able to reach our desire to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So Kriti bhi is indicating that. And what happens when you open your heart to this? Ishvaro sadhyo hridhi avrudyate. Ishvara, Krishna, sadhyo, immediately hridhi avrudyate. The Supreme Lord becomes established within your heart. So, by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam sincerely from the right teacher, not a professional reciter, one can realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. It will not just be a faith-based experience, it will be a lived experience. You will be able to, experience Krishna. We will see later in the Bhagavata. Bhakti para isha anubhav. What is bhakti? Bhakti is an anubhav, an experience of the para isha. It is not just a faith in para isha, it is anubhav of para isha. And when you actually sincerely open your heart to Srimad Bhagavatam, you will experience Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna will be established in your heart. So the absolute is conquered by love. So there is no qualification, actually, as human beings. Usually, we think, how can I approach God? Here, Krishna is saying, I will make myself accessible. You just come to me with a receptive heart. Yeah. So ultimate reality is a person who is saying that I will make myself accessible. You might not be able to reach me, but I'll come to you because if you come to me with love, I reciprocate to you accordingly. So this Ishvaro Sadhyo Hridi Avrudyate means it's a personal God. It's Bhagavan, which is the highest reality. And Prema is the highest way of participating in that highest reality. It is not just a sentiment. Prema, if Bhagwan, the personal feature of God, is the highest form of reality, then Prema is the medium or the channel to participate in that ultimate reality. It is not a mere sentiment. So we have to be sincere, Shushtrubhi, sincere, eager. We should be Kritibhi, attentive, actively surrender. What do we surrender? We surrender our attention. And we say, yes, please tell us. I am open to hear without my biases, without my ego. So basically, hearing is the first step. Receptivity. Hearing is not just listening, it is conscious listening. You listen with attention. You allow yourself to be corrected, purified, and then be connected to Krishna. So this is the beautiful presentation of the second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to be heard from the beginning. The intelligent person with thoughtful discretion can be reassured by the great sage Vyas Dev that he can realize the Supreme Personality directly by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Sadhyo, you don't have to undergo different stages of realization given in the Vedas. Tapa, Dana, Yajna, Mudra, Puja, not required. Sadhyo Hridi Avrudyate. Who Ishvaraha? This is bringing you directly in touch with Ishvara. You don't have to go through different stages of realization set forth in the Vedas. One can be lifted immediately to the position of a Paramahamsa simply by agreeing to receive this message. So the focus is on receptivity with a sincere heart. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions or comments? Yeah, I hope it was, systematic. And yes, Prabhu.
Also, what was Prithvi? You had mentioned that one needs the blessings of devotees in order to hear or to understand more. What is Prithvi?
Kritibhi, Prabhu, Kritibhi here, let's, this is that if Krishna is looking for, in us, Krishna is looking for eagerness, humility. So here Prabhupada says, Kritibhi is pious men. So Prabhupada says, those who are less fortunate, not everyone can be fortunate to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So the fact is, we require certain previous, in Vedic language, we would call it punya, but in Bhagavatam language, we'll call it grace. So it requires the grace of devotees to develop a receptivity for Bhagavatam. Those who have not received the blessings of the devotees, they will not develop a taste for Bhagavatam itself. So that Kritibhi means, have you earned the blessings of Vaishnavas, of your Guru? When you serve Vaishnavas, they are satisfied deeply in their heart. They might not, physically or verbally bless you, but that from that deep sense of satisfaction, automatically blessings emerge from the heart. That is what we have to collect in spiritual life. We have to collect blessings of all Vaishnavas. That blessings will create the receptivity in our heart for Krishna topics. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.